And welcome to another episode of Raices Live. I'm Eric Belardo, also known as Cyber Papa. Tonight we have an exciting episode with a really good star coming to you today. And today we're going to be talking about Hispanic heritage as well as bullying, online safety, and other topics. So if that's what you're here for, stay tuned. And welcome back. Well, as promised, we have a great guest today, Alicia Taylor. She's going to talk to us about her experiences with online safety, online bullying, as well as her Hispanic heritage. And today we have a special co host, my other half, Carmen. Hey, Carmen.
Hello, everybody. I have been fangirling all week because Alicia Taylor is awesome and I'm excited. And yeah. I think it's going to be a great show.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's bring Alicia in.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Thank you guys so much for having me. I just feel so lucky and so grateful that you've invited me here. So thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. And what you guys have going on is awesome and amazing. I loved hearing more about it when we were just talking. And I hope everybody here can learn something else new too.
Definitely.
Great.
Thank you very much for being here today. Let's start with the basics. So for our audience that doesn't know you,
Yep.
bad. Okay, for those of you that don't know, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Alicia, as you guys know. A lot of people say Alicia or Alicia or whatever, but no, it's Alicia. And hi. And so I am the owner, founder, director of a group called Cherry Bombs, which is a dance slash cirque troupe. And we perform to all rock and metal music. A lot of people probably have seen us on the road. We've done a few national tours. We performed in Latin America, down in Mexico City and Colombia. So we're kind of gaining some momentum here and people are knowing about us a little more and more. So if anybody hasn't, check us out. We do a lot of things with dancing and fire and aerial and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's my passion and it's my baby. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Okay, and go back a little bit back of how you started dancing and your experience with the NFL.
Yeah. So I started dancing when I was 3. And my mother noticed that I would just turn circles in our living room, like just constantly. My father would play music very loudly in the house, Eagles and a lot of Phil Collins and, stuff in the 80s, right? And so I would just have this Ernie doll, Bert and Ernie, and I would just twirl circles with him constantly in the living room to music. And my mother was like, she needs to take dance classes. And I got thrown in dance class and I walked up to the front of the classroom and I, was paying attention. I absorbed it really quickly and I just kind of naturally picked it up really fast. And performance day, I was like, here we are. I'm not afraid of stage. Let's do it.
Wow.
And my mom's like, okay, this is it. This is her calling. And so I just did that my whole entire life. And I actually, until I say all my entire life, until I didn't, which was when I went off to college in Hawaii. And when I lived in Hawaii, I kind of went through a depression there because took me a long time to figure it out, but I actually wasn't dancing at all. And it was for the first time in my life that I didn't have that for an outlet for me. And it was a tough time when I lived there. So when my ex-husband at the time, who was in the military, we moved to Georgia. I saw auditions for the Atlanta Falcons come up, and I thought, well, why not just see if I still got it? You know, I haven't danced in years, but maybe I can do it. So I started getting back in the studio and brushing up on my technique, and went to auditions, and boom, made it, and did that for 3 years. That was 2010, 11, and 12. So I was with the Atlanta Falcons when they were really good. They're rebuilding right now. So, you know, so it was a fun time. It was an exciting time to cheer for them because they were doing a really good job. And I was able to couple my love of dance, and performing. Is a lot of fun, and you get the best seats in the house. And so when it was time to hang up my pom-poms, because I was just tired of, I wasn't really into the music that we were performing to. I just loved performing. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I wanted more. And I'd done that, and it was great. And it was great for what it was. But then I knew I wasn't done performing. I just knew I needed to do it in the way that I truly, truly loved. And so that was kind of where Cherry Bombs formed. So I broke off from the NFL, and I started this group with a bunch of fellow teammates that had retired from Falcons with me. And that was the very first time being Cherry Bombs, which is our first gig in Sturgis, South Dakota.
Wow. That's an awesome story, though. That's great.
So you found your why. And one of the things that I tell everybody in this organization and you know, through security is you've got to find your why. You've got to find your passion. That's something that we all need to find, and I'm hoping that people find in cybersecurity and online safety. So another question here. So when you formed Cherry Bombs, okay, Cherry Bombs, and we, Carmen, you know, Carmen and I are fans of you guys. We watch all your stuff. One of the things that I notice is that Cherry Bombs is a very diverse group. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of diversity. And so can you tell us about the diversity in the group?
Yes. You know, it didn't click in my head until you just said that, but the why, and it leads into this. Back when I was in high school, I started my high school's very first dance team. They didn't have a dance team before that. I was a cheerleader in high school for 2 years, and then that wasn't for me. I wanted to dance. So I started it. And at the time, I held auditions, and like nobody showed up except for like 10 people maybe. And I took what I could with that group, and I made 7 of them. And at the time, it was the most diverse group in that was really anything in my high school. My high school was very predominantly Caucasian. So that was one thing that was brought up a lot back when I formed this group was, oh my gosh, you know, I have, you know, someone of Asian ethnicity here, and I have African-American ethnicity over here in this group. And so that dance group, and it was kind of foreshadowing for what I was going to do with Cherry Bombs. And it didn't even register in my brain at the time. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that was my why at the time. I just knew like that was what I was good at, and I really loved doing it. But I thought I had to go to college and I had to get a degree in, you know, journalism, which was what I was going for at the time. And I thought I had to do this ABC routine of, you know, you graduate, you go to college, you get married, you have the dog in the house and the fence and the whatever. And really my life kind of went like that. And as it does for most people. And so fast forward to Cherry Bombs, looking back on it, it makes sense. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, this is exactly what I was supposed to do. And I'm supposed to bring people from all different walks of life together, because I think that's one of my talents. If I can brag on myself a little bit, I hate doing that, but I have kind of this little knack for finding people from all over the place and being able to connect them. I by no means am the smartest in the room at all, and I don't want to be, but I can find one, and I can find several of them and bring them together and watch some really cool stuff happen. And with Cherry Bombs, that's exactly what it is. It is a culmination of all these really incredible, and not always female, because as we've seen recently, I've brought in males too.
Yep.
Just incredible humans that are really good at their thing. And I find the best here and the best there. And this person comes from way over here, and this person comes from this walk of life. And I get them all together, and we make this really cool show, product, whatever you want to call it. And so it's about finding different people from all over the place and encouraging and supporting their strengths so that we as a unit can be one great, big, awesome thing.
That is awesome. Yeah. And it shows. And it shows that when you guys perform and the production you put together, I mean, it shows.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
Plus, I love seeing how on the outtakes and the things on the DVD where you show how you build the team. It shows trying to put together the best, make them, grow in their own areas, be it costume design or dancing or choreography or anything like that. That's and I'm just going to say it, that's the signs of a good leader.
Yeah.
There,
thank you.
Letting them do their thing.
I try.
Leading from the front. That's important. So
I try. Thank you.
And tell us about your heritage, because that was surprising to a lot of people.
That was surprising to me. I didn't know. I didn't do my homework. I know.
So I get that. I get one of two reactions. It's weird because it all depends on, I think we base a lot of like what people's ethnicity are based on what they look like, right? When genetics can be kind of a funny thing in that it can be like, you can have one parent that is one thing and another parent that is another thing. And then you come out and you look one way, but say they have another child and that child looks like this way with the other parent. So, it's fascinating. I think that's really cool. But my mother is Irish, Scottish, Welsh. So very blonde, light complected, green eyes. My father is Spanish and Mexican. And very, very dark complected, black hair, big brown eyes, tall, dark, and handsome he was.
You've shared pictures of him before, and I can see that.
Yes. So, and then people go, oh, okay. And me being kind of a cross between those two, I used to be called, when I was in the NFL, I used to be called racially ambiguous. So, because I had black hair at the time, I was very tan because all the NFL cheerleaders were all tan.
Right.
And so I could be I was considered to be other. So, and as my coach at the time put it, she's like, okay, we've got blonde, white girls like this, and then we've got black girls like this, and then we have other like Alicia. And I was like,
okay.
Okay. And it was me and like an Asian girl. And when I have black hair and I'm tan, it's very apparent to many people, like, okay, you are, I get one of many. It's either Spanish, Middle Eastern. Everybody kind of takes a guess. Greek, Italian, kind of anything in that general area. So yes, a mutt. Yes, I'm a mutt. But I also, so I get really tan and I don't burn. My skin rarely ever burns. That's the Spanish. Thank you, Dad. But I also get very pale, as you can see, if I don't go out in the sun. So that's Mom. So it's very, I like it because I feel like I can, my skin is saved. Mostly because I have a little bit of extra protection there. But what's tough about being a mix like this is that some people will say, well, you're not dark enough to be considered Hispanic or, Latina or anything, right? You don't look like that. So therefore you're not, but then
you don't fit the profile.
You don't fit the profile. Right. But, and a lot of people don't know this. And I don't know if I've ever actually said this, because when I came up, my last name was Dove. which is not a stage name. That was my ex-husband's last name. But my real last name is Ruiz. So what was tough and growing up I kind of grew up in a lot of places around Western Washington, Seattle area. I didn't really have a lot of fellow Hispanics in the places that I lived. There was an area that I lived in for a lot of time that there was a huge Asian culture there. So all my friends were that. And I got to learn about amazing things like cherry blossom festivals. And I got to learn Japanese when I was like in first grade and second grade.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I'm so thankful for that exposure because it was just the coolest. And I feel like I'm better off for it. And then I moved to a different area in high school. I would say middle school, high school, that was very predominantly white. And I think at that age, you want so badly to fit in at that kind of, at that middle grade to high school age, junior high-ish area. You want to blend in. You want to fit in. You don't want to be like the different one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my stepdad's last name was Wagner, and I felt like I didn't fit in with my last name because nobody knew how to pronounce it. Nobody knew. They would be like, Ruiz, and I'm like,
You pronounce that right there.
Raices? Is that what
You got it.
Yeah.
So it made me feel so much like an outsider that my hair is naturally so super curly, very, very, very curly. I was like ironing my hair. This is back before we had flat irons as like a major thing. Put my hair on an ironing board, y'all, and ironing it with an iron, okay, to try and fit in. And I started going by the last name Wagner because I was like, they can pronounce it. I don't feel so, I don't know, different maybe. And I don't know why this is making me tear up. I guess I've never really talked about this. But it just, it was just a really kind of tough thing to wrestle with. So just feeling different, right? Mm-hmm. So I did everything that I tried to do to do that, to just be accepted. And and then I didn't really embrace back into my Hispanic heritage until I started getting back into flamenco dance. And and then I had a boss who was like, is your name Alicia or Alicia? And I was like, it's Alicia. And she's like, well, everybody needs to call you that. And I was like, yeah. So I kind of felt more empowered because someone else who was my boss, who I looked up to, kind of advocated for me.
Right.
And so that's when I was like, okay, I am okay. Like, it is cool to be me and to be different. And so, and then of course, when I moved to Hawaii, everybody thought I was half Hawaiian. So yeah, it just, it's something that I've had to grow to. I don't want to say the word accept because that's not the word that I'm trying to think of. It's more be proud of and embrace, I should say, and be cool with it and just be like, yeah, I am different and this is okay. And I don't look like any of you. And, you don't understand, but it's okay. So, yeah.
Hard to fit in, especially when we don't understand how powerful and special our diversity. That's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So
don't feel bad because I came, Puerto Ricans come in different shades and sizes, and you can have a Puerto Rican that's blonde, blue-eyed, and have one that's black as coal. We call them mulattoes in the island, right?
Yes. Yeah.
because we are a mix of Spaniards, native Indians, and African slaves. So you could
Right.
have a family that's like anything. I came to the States. I had a similar experience than you. I came in to study, and I worked very, very hard to ensure that my accent
Yeah.
wasn't typical one. And it wasn't
Right.
until later on that I learned, hey, this is me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it takes some inward looking and, um, just feeling like there's nothing wrong with this. Like, I'm okay. So this is okay. This is good. And it's good to be different. And it helps to have, supportive people who, and I guess maybe that kind of falls back on the whole acceptance thing, which kind of sucks because I feel like we all just kind of need to get over it. But the reality is that, in societies, we all do things to have community. It's like a very natural human thing, I think. So, but having people that are like, man, yeah, your accent is really cool, or I like your hair, and and that sort of thing. So, yeah,
And
loving yourself.
that's one of the things I'm trying to do with Raices. Get a community of people that just is very accepting and wants to be, together, and
Yeah,
understands that diversity is the spice of life.
yeah, absolutely, and that's all good stuff. And it's not about looks. Like, I feel like there's so much value put on what someone looks like in order to determine whether they are worthy enough to call themselves what they are, where they come from and their heritage. Like, just, you are this and you are that. I want to say I was reading something recently about New Zealanders and how they don't, and maybe this is completely wrong. I don't know. I'm not from New Zealand, but this was just an anecdote where someone was saying, with us in New Zealand, we don't care. If you're here and you live here, you're a New Zealander. We love you. We support you. And you're part of this.
Wow.
And that includes the culture as well. And so they embrace everybody no matter what, because they feel like it is something that should be shared and celebrated. And then that's okay. And I think that's a really cool outlook. Very much. So.
Well, so now let's get into the topic of being you're a celebrity. You are out there a lot on social media, on shows. What are things that you've experienced by being out in the zeitgeist out there, when it comes to being online, and the experiences, the good and the bad? Start with the good.
Well, I don't think I'm a celebrity.
Aww.
Just to say, I don't look at myself like that at all. But
I know you don't, but you are.
but I
gotta
think
do this
I'm.
for you. I gotta do this for you.
Oh,
There you go. See?
That's very cool. Thank you. That's okay. Okay. All
And look, and I have
right.
her merch hanging back here. Yeah, okay.
No,
She's
yeah,
not a
okay.
celebrity.
I get it. I get it. Thank you. No, I don't see myself like that, but I do understand that. I am in the public light a little bit, and maybe not. Yes, in part as to what I do for a living, and out there and being a performer. Yes, but also because of who I'm attached to. Which definitely boosted that. It would be silly not to acknowledge that. The good thing is that I have seen some really cool things happen on social media because of the reach. So, being able to raise funds for an amazing cause or a charity, not about like, waving my flag and look at me and look what I did, but more so about bringing awareness to certain things that maybe people wouldn't be able to find, and maybe that they're really into and that they really want to support, but they wouldn't know otherwise. So I think that when people have a platform, they have a chance to do that and bring causes to the forefront of their followers. And if that's something that their followers so choose to support, then it can be a very, very cool thing and a very positive impact. And social media is the way that we do it, right? It's the way that we reach each other and the way that we connect and communicate for the most part, I think, in today's world. It's also great to connect like-minded individuals. And obviously it's good for what I do in my business and reaching people all across the world. And showing them that I've got this thing and I think it's kind of cool and maybe you would dig it too. And if they do, then they're like, I'm so glad I found you. This is awesome. You know, I can't wait to see you do a live show, and it's something that they can enjoy. So I can now provide a service that people can enjoy and be entertained by and feel connected to. I also think social media is great for being human and showing others that, you know, when you're in this world or at a certain level of any kind of like public spotlight, that you are human and you do have feelings, emotions, things, struggles. I'll bet while they may be different than what some people may experience, but they are definitely things that that we can all kind of relate to in some degree. So I think social media can be a great, great, great thing when used for good. And I think most people generally use it that way. I wouldn't venture to say that most people are destructive on it. But I would say that that is a very loud minority of people that do it, a very small but vocal group for sure.
So I know the answer, but for our viewers stuff, how on the negative side, how has social media impacted you experience? And then how do those make you feel?
So social media was never really a negative thing for me until my now husband and I came to public light when we started dating. And because of his massive following and fans, it was like, I mean, if you've never had that before, if you're not used to that kind of bombardment, if you will, on your social accounts, there is no textbook that is out there that prepares you for this. There's no real life experience that can prepare you for something like that that I can think of at that degree, at that level. And so, when a typical person would say, oh, well, like people don't like you, that's fine, that's part of life. Mm-hmm. What I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is the extent, like the level at which you are being literally bombarded with messages to kill yourself or that you're awful. And in keeping with the theme of very racially driven remarks, crazy stuff like swastika flags flying and all this weird, just absolutely awful things.
Wow.
And because of who I was with, and so it's almost hard to describe what that's like. And until you've experienced it, you'll never really know. But I will say that it is not fun. And in the beginning, I think for me personally, I felt like I needed to explain myself. Like, no, wait. Like, guys, like it's not that, it's like this. When cared or even really knew that there are people, and a lot of people at that, who will make up their mind about you without knowing you or hearing anything about you or listening to you. And there is nothing that you can say. There is nothing you can do to change their minds. It doesn't matter. Like if your pen is red and they want it to be blue in their head, it will be blue, and they will find whatever reason to make it blue.
Mhm.
And that took me a hot second to really understand and accept and be okay with. Like, Alicia, you are not. You can be like, yeah, guys, no, I'm not this, you know, gold digger, whore, slut, stripper, homewrecker, blah blah blah. Everything that you're calling me, I genuinely care about this man. And then I felt like I had to defend myself, because it's like, wait a minute, like, guys, like, I'm not this, like, it was just my initial reaction. And a lot of people will say, well, if you know, don't have anything to hide, you wouldn't say anything, or you wouldn't feel like you needed to prove yourself or whatever. But I don't know if you've ever been accused of something that you've never done, but it is infuriating. It is absolutely infuriating.
And you just want to defend. It's human nature to just defend yourself. I mean,
I think it is too. And I think it was just so volatile at one point that it was right before we got married. And I was like, you know what? I'm out. I can't do this anymore. I can't deal with constant, crazy, paragraph after paragraph after paragraph of this weird analysis of me and who I am and where I came from, and hate websites about me that wrote my story for me, which were all weird facts that were completely off. It was just.
Don't you wonder where these people find all the time?
They probably typically don't have a job. I would not.
Somebody
love to have
needs
that.
to do the psychology on that.
We do have that.
We do. Yes, we did.
Hey.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And it wasn't until, and when I left social media and I had to go to therapy, man. I had to go to understand why, because I can't relate to people behaving this way. I can't relate to somebody doing these things to somebody. I've never gone on Kim Kardashian's Instagram and been like, Kim, you fucking whore. And I'm sorry if I can't swear on the show, but I just did. I've never, ever gone to somebody's page that I didn't know. And even if I did know them, I've never done that either. So I can't wrap my brain around this kind of behavior. And it wasn't until I started seeing a therapist and had that talk with Dr. Jonathan Stea.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Amazing. If anybody's here watching and wants to learn more about it, definitely we should give him some love. That we have an absolute mental health crisis going on. And social media has brought a lot of that to light. And this kind of fixation on public profile people is not healthy to this degree. And so I hope these people get help. But yeah, that was just something that I really had to understand, that I will never understand this way of thinking, because I don't have that, and these people need help.
So on this channel, Jonathan and I did a video on online safety on Facebook and Twitter. So I give him a lot of love, and we talk almost every week. So, so once you identified and took care of yourself mentally and physically, what did you do differently online, for your safety online after these experiences? What has been something you can tell other people? to do after you
That's
say?
helped you.
Yeah. So when I decided to come back, I felt like I was in a stronger place mentally to handle this sort of thing again. One thing that really absolutely helped was I had a fellow girlfriend who was also dating a very big public figure at the time. And she saw that I was hurting and she reached out and she said, "Hey girl, I know exactly what you're going through." And I was like, "Oh my God, you do." And so I think the first step is finding anybody who can empathize with you, like really truly empathize with you. Because if you haven't experienced it at this kind of degree or even a smaller degree, it feels very lonely. It feels very isolating. You feel very, very ever. So if you talk to people or friends who maybe aren't that great at empathizing and they haven't experienced it, they're going to tell you things like, just ignore it. Just ignore it. Don't go online. Don't use social media. So that, to me, that's very much like, you shouldn't wear that, or, you're asking for it. Maybe you need to change. Well, yes, to a degree, you need to alter your outlook and you need to alter your reaction. So, but you by no means should stop living your life however you want, so long as you're not hurting anybody or yourself, right? And that's all I was doing. I just fell in love with a guy. Really, that's it.
Right.
Right. So my girlfriend who reached out to me, all horrible things, and share them together, and let's just make fun of all of it and them. And it was our private thing that we didn't let the public know about or anything like that in mean spirit. It was a way to take the power away from the things that these people were saying. And when you really break it down, you will, and I hope everybody who's listening knows this, you will never find somebody who is hating on you for no reason at all, that is doing better than you, that is happier than you, that is kicking ass more than you. Yes, shiny buttons, absolutely true. These people, when you start looking at their profiles, they are miserable. All they post is the same damn selfie over and over again. They are not anybody tearing anybody down for no reason whatsoever, other than they just need something to do, are not doing well in life. And the problem lies with them. So take the power away, joke about it, make fun of it. I'm like, oh, here comes the big old whore online. Here she comes. And it works. It works. It doesn't mean that you can't feel those things and process that, but it helps take the sting away. The other thing that I found is find people who support you, a good network around you. And I found my people that maybe don't know exactly what I'm going through, but they've seen it and they watch it, and then they're there for me when I'm like, oh, God, I'm so exhausted from this. And they're like, dude, I get it. I see it. So the other thing that I found, and you have to check in with yourself and make sure that you are in a good, strong place before you do something like this. And everybody's different, and you'll find your rhythm. I will clap back. You guys know this, right? You have seen me do it. And everybody says, like, you shouldn't do anything. You should, but I know, I can tell, I've got it down now where I could usually tell which kind of person I can do that with. Shut them down, be done. It shuts it down, because a lot of people think you're not going to stand up for yourself. And a lot of people think you're not going to be like, all right, fine. You want to bring this shit to my living room? Welcome. You want attention? Here we fucking go. And then, but you can't do that with everybody. You got to know exactly
who you can do that to,
who you're doing that with. Yes.
Yep.
Some people say you just block. You block and move on. Yes and no. Because some people in their crazy, sadistic, narcissism, delusional mind will take a block as a response and a challenge.
You're right. You're right.
And
Mm-hmm.
so you're really, not to make it seem like this is this like thing that takes over your life, because it's not. It takes 2 seconds. But once you have a really good understanding of other people and yourself, you will know how to respond and which way to do it. And you will understand that not everybody's the same, and they won't operate the same, and their tactics won't be the same either. So therefore yours shouldn't be as well, because what works with one may not work for the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of brings you to more extreme cases.
Correct. And we tell people that once we examine what the type of troller, harasser, all the different ways that they do, we tell them sometimes it's good to block. That's the low level ones that are just
The
being
ones
trolled.
that don't matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's others that we don't want you to troll to block, because
Right.
that's the evidence. That's the things that we can use
Yes.
to track.
Well, and you can keep tabs on them, because if you
Yes.
block them, they'll come back as somebody else.
Yes.
If they're that obsessed, that's what they're
Yes.
going to do.
Yes.
So have you heard the
Exactly.
term sock puppets?
Yes. And I'm
So
very familiar with them.
So one of the things that we do is we make sure that, when these start popping up, they pop up like whack-a-mole, is that we
Yep.
understand where they're coming from, what is the thing that they're doing, and what is their motivation. So that's great that you learned how to identify those, something that we constantly do. Actually,
Yeah.
a lot of people on the chat right now that are experts in that. So, all right.
That's amazing, because, it really, again, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, so go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It really is true. You can block, you can delete, and whatever. But and I would say the overwhelming majority of people that do this kind of stuff, then are pretty low level, right? Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's all pretty low level, just stupid, petty, little things here and there. The very extreme cases are much more rare. I've only encountered 2, going on 3. I was, let's say 3 in the last, what is it now, 4 years. So the percentage is very low, but those extreme ones, man, that is a whole nother beast that a very small amount of people can understand. And I'm sure you guys have seen it, and it's not fun. That one is not fun at all.
No, not at all. And when we have those cases, it takes a village for us to do the investigation, to help the I don't like to call them victims, call them targets, or because these guys target some, and it might
Yeah.
not be you as a person. It's what you represent, what you
Yes.
what you
That's
represent.
all it is.
Yes.
Half of them don't know anything about you, right? They're just
Correct.
because of who you're connected to, or who, they just
Yes.
automatically assume the worst.
Yes, absolutely. It is never about you.
Mm-mm.
Carmen, you hit the nail on the head.
Yep.
It is a much more involved thing.
Mm-hmm. And it's on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Their
it is
problem.
on them. But unfortunately, you're the
They're
thing.
the one that gets
Yeah.
hurt. Yeah.
And so you'll find, do I not do these interviews? Do I not keep putting myself out there and performing? Or, Gaia is in here on the chat. She's amazing. She would be a great person for you guys to talk to as well, if she wanted to do that. Do I not do photo shoots? Do I not do put out this product, or not keep doing the thing that makes me me, out of fear of this crazy whirlwind that's about to hit? Because every time you put yourself out there, you are now triggering that person, and whatever obsession they have with you is being set off. And so then they have another reason to come back and attack you. Like, we're going to do this interview live right now. I'm sure you're going to post it to your YouTube. And the people who are obsessed with me have seen every interview I've ever done. They've seen every performance I've ever done. They Google me, and they will absolutely zero in on this, and this will trigger them because it's a new thing that has come up. So, you have to say, fuck this. I'm just going to do this.
So I'll take your advice and turn it into a joke and say, yeah, if you're out there, go ahead and watch, because it'll give me some watch time too.
That's right. That's right.
And that's the thing they don't really understand, is the more they comment all this hatred on your stuff in your comment section, the more they click on it, the more they share it, they are benefiting you because they are increasing your reach. Right. They're increasing your impressions. They are making your social media bigger, and whether they know it or not.
Is when you get attacked online, everybody comes out of the woodwork and defends you. It's great. I mean, you have so much support. So it really doesn't, let them hate, because you have more people backing you up and supporting. And yeah. What did he say?
You do. And you by no means expect that. It is a very lovely thing to feel that support. They're like, that's my Alicia. You back off,
It's gone.
Yeah, dude, fuck off. That's my Alicia.
I see it. I see it all the time. It's great.
Yeah, I'm very grateful. Very, very, very grateful. And maybe that is a great thing, a positive thing about social media, is that you do have people who will come to your support. And, I should say that an obsession on a negative end is just as unhealthy as an obsession on a positive end too, because I don't think we really talk about that as much as well. It's negative is clearly unhealthy and not fun and not great, but the other end of the spectrum in extremes is also not very healthy,
right.
and good either. So while that's appreciated and it's great, it's also something that people probably need help with if they're just overzealous in their, passion and love for any item or thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah, I want to have you tell our audience about the spooky Halloween thing that you've got. I got an email about something called
Macabaret. A lot of people don't know how to say that. A lot of people are like macrame, mabaha. So someone said macrame.
I was calling it something weird when I first saw it.
Macabaret.
Yeah, I was doing the macabaret. Like, what is that?
I took the word macabre and cabaret and I put them together, and we have a macabaret. Yes, this is the Cherry Bombs online streaming movie, film, eyegasm, if you will. It is a visually, it is like if you were to take an album of a soundtrack, if you will, filled with Rammstein, Metallica, Suicidal Tendencies, Rage Against the Machine, and you were to make a visual album of that soundtrack and put a storyline to it, it would be this. So this is kind of my baby. And during the pandemic, we obviously were out of work. We couldn't do shows live. So the Cherry Bombs and I, we made a movie. And this is where you can buy tickets, cherrybombs.veeps.com. And the support means so much because we're not a band, so we don't have things like label support or anything like that. So everything that we make helps go and supports the company directly. So yeah, tickets are on sale. If you've seen it before, there's a discount available. I've emailed everybody, and it's an hour long. there is some language in it, but it's suitable, I think, for all ages. It'd be PG-13.
Yeah.
And it's a story about a man who breaks down on the side of the road and has no choice but to go into the saloon, which is essentially kind of like a, what is it called? Like a honey trap, like a honey pot.
Mhm.
And yeah, honey pot. And he has to find his way out of this saloon that is essentially trying to devour him by way of these women who are all these ghoulishly fun different characters, and you have to find out if he makes it out in the end. And that's it.
It was so just so that everybody knows, Carmen and I were probably number 20, 25 to buy the first stream during the pandemic. We put it all here and we had it a family, everybody
It
watching
was
it.
the family, yeah.
Oh,
The family watch.
awesome.
Yeah.
It was a
great.
family night.
It was. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
thank
really
you.
good.
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, we're going to make it an annual thing in
And she
October.
does a
so
flamingo dance in there too, and it's beautiful.
flamingo.
I think that's my favorite part.
thank you. I do a flamenco.
You do.
I
And that's
do.
it's beautiful the way it's done. It's so good. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
We screamed during that time, during that
Yeah.
part.
We got it.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yeah, with the whip was that was my
Uh-huh.
Zorro was my inspiration behind that one.
Yeah, it's great.
So thank you. It was fun. It was hard. But if you come out and see us, we're planning a headlining run in January.
I was going to ask you about that, if you were going to do it live.
Yes, I will be doing it live. So I better get practicing.
Better. Oh, that's exciting.
Better. Man,
you got to come to
flamenco
Philly.
music. I'll see. It depends what the agent. I know. I would love. I love Philly. Love up there, up in the Northeast. They're very good to us. And there's a nice strong rock market up there too.
Yeah.
So it's very cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Tell our audience, first of all, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel here. And if anybody has any questions, please pop them up, and our moderators will let me know if there's any questions. I also want to take this time to ask anybody to go to www.raicescyber.org and follow us on Twitter at raicescyber.org. And if you want to support our mission to, change the world through diversity of thought in cyber and help the Hispanic, Latino, Latina communities, please consider going up to raicescyber.org and take action and donate, or join us as a volunteer, or join our membership. And of course, Carmen does these fabulous, go into it.
Yes.
In the store here. So go check it out and get something for yourself. And don't forget that Raices Cyber is a 501c3 nonprofit. So,
cool.
All right. Do we have any questions?
The irony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that's why I also really love the mute feature. Because there's some people that I have that I've just muted, and they talking to people, but they're just into the abyss. So that's a really handy feature, and they're not blocked. So they still. Oh, it's so if you're on Instagram, it's called Restrict.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, the Restrict one, and I think on Twitter it's mute.
Yeah, mute.
Yeah. So they could still post things on. They think they're posting on your page, but nobody sees it, so it doesn't get any. It doesn't get any attention.
So they don't know that they've been muted. So.
And they don't know that they've been muted. Nope. They think that they're posting and that it's on your wall and you're seeing it, and that you're going to get upset, but you don't see it unless you want to see it. And yeah, so yeah, and that's been handy. I have people who think they're doing something and they talk every day.
We've got a
Have you
question here.
had
Have you
a
had a block
block?
Awesome.
turned
It's great.
into something big?
Have you had a block that turned into some big PR?
Well, Puerto Rican, but we are so a block
Yeah,
thing that's turned into, publicity or has been exposed out there.
not that I'm aware of, except for, I mean, usually if I block, that's the end of it. But there's been some scenarios where I've blocked and they just take it to this other level where I'm going to create 10 new accounts and yeah, do some wildness with that. So, I mean, as far as like a super big public attention in PR, not really. Mm-mm.
All right. Well, we're coming to the top of the hour. Alicia, thank you very much
Yeah.
for being here, just sharing an hour of your time and for talking to our audience. Thank you, everybody that's out there. So please, again, keep us in mind and know that you've got a family here too that supports you as well.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you for doing
Thank
this
you.
and doing what you do, because it's really rad and amazing. And if there's anything I can do to help support you guys, just let me know, because this is great. It's much needed.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Stand by in the back, and we're going to close this up in a second here. So thank you again. All right. And for all of you, again, thank you very much for supporting Raices, for supporting Raices Live. Please go to the website, go to the Twitter, go and help us out, reach more people through changing the world through cyber by giving diversity a thought. So with that, thank you very much. Have a great week, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow on Security Happy Hour on Cyber Warrior Studios. With that, thank you very much.